Let me tell you a story. It was a summer night. There I was, sitting in a pool of my own ass sweat, illuminated by my computer screen. It was 3 in the morning, the gaming hour. I perused my Steam library and stumbled upon an old favorite, Fallout 4, the penultimate of the series. I remember this game. I remember the hype, the lies, the disappointment. Indeed, ask anyone in the know, and they'll be quick to tell you of a disappointing RPG and somewhat competent Fallout entry. But yet it's been 6 years. 6 years is a long time. Time for reflection, I think. Re-evaluation. What could this swollen night tell me now that the critics couldn't see then? And so I pressed play. The game begins by asking what I think the average American will look like by the year 2077. There. I adjust my character to specification and begin the game. The song and dance of Bethesda games is familiar, overplayed. The plot is the distraction, the gameplay is repetitive, the only true attraction is some bizarre sense of progression, enabled by seemingly endless quests and locations they scavenge. What precisely about any of this is Fallout? The retro-futuristic aesthetic is nothing more than a thin coat of paint. Strip it away and you could just call this game An Average Day in Boston, though you'd have to replace the ghouls with crackheads and synths for Californians. The Fallout series has been relegated to nothing more than some shiny appliance, to be passed around the shareholder meeting table like some dollar store prostitute, picking up by now gaming trends like STDs with each subsequent entry. First-person shooting mechanics here, shoddy-ass base-building mechanics there, and now of course multiplayer, integrated into the whole like a tumor metastasizing within the frontal lobe. Delirium follows. Any semblance of artistic merit has been rendered extinct as the product rolls through the assembly line, chopped up and ready for mass production. The AAA industry is the antagonist, amputating hallmarks of the Fallout series at leisure. There's no room for analog mechanics like skills in our AAA video game. There's no room for complex dialogue trees in our AAA video game. There's no room for fat, no room for edges on our AAA video game. So says Howard, head of the Snake. And yet this game does possess a number of ardent followers, as does Satan. Chief among their praises is the slick gameplay and depth of companion characters. Like I said earlier, that first point is moot since it came at the steep cost of the franchise's identity, like a supermodel flaying their face off for a better body. But that second point, that oh so rare well-written Bethesda character, well now that's something worth looking into. It was time to take a step back, a breather amidst the pollution. The companions. Nick Valentine. Obvious derivation of Jill Valentine, sorely lacking in breast and buttock volumetrics. Pass. Kate. Irish prizefighter. Emulates tomboyish appeal, but dresses like a steampunk teenager in a Wisconsin high school. Piper Wright, the reporter. A member of the homogenized liberal elite. No thanks. Curie. Feminine medical nurse archetype. Clearly meant to stimulate the coon brain psychosphere, yet resembles a ascetic robotic servant. A juxtaposition of Socratic ideals. Bad for the nerve. Strong. Heavyweight mutant fat boy. An enemy turned friend. Perhaps subtle commentary on 21st century racial dynamics. Can't say I jig with it. Paladin dance. Sycophant of perverted religious ideals. Obvious reflection of degraded Christendom in the age of decadence, hence his name. Codsworth. Robotic servant. Characterized by British inflection of speech, Codsworth's inclusion is striking. His kind is from the old world, a pre-nuclear intrusion. Almost immediately one can see the implication. A British servitor, hailing from an old world. In fact, this kind of metaphor is extant throughout the entire goddamn game. The Wasteland is called the Commonwealth, a faction named Minutemen after the original militia, and countless other references to the Revolutionary War. American independence haunts the entire game like a caustic stench, but why? To what end is any of this imagery supposed to accomplish? Even more confounding is the allusions to slavery, what with the synths using an underground railroad to gain independence from the institution. This is actually very accurate, as we all know black people in real life are made in a lab and try to blend in with human society. But, what exactly does any of this other slavery shit mean? The goddamn Underground Railroad didn't exist until 100 years after the Revolution, and I hesitate to see how themes of slavery complement American independence. That seems to accomplish the polar fucking opposite, actually. The lines of articulation are there, but blurry. All of these images and symbols. Clearly the work of intelligent design, but part of some larger scheme. What was it? What is this game trying to tell me here, now, in the seat of mine, drenched in ass sweat? The sun was rising, beckoning me further. I had to bite this thing at the source. A lead writer by the name of Emil Pagliarulo.
Pagliarulo.
But the man's a ghost. Scarce traces of his existence on the digital record. The man's a master of subtlety, we can conclude that at least. But his name betrays him. Italian nobility. And now we reach the final truth. Lay it bare. A collection of references to American culture and history, all mixed together in some paradoxical ambrosia and recontextualized through apocalyptic haze. As if America, or some surface-level interpretation of it, were captured in a snapshot, seen only in passing and half remembered. A stranger peering into a gaping cataclysm of Americana, only for a second. Do the math. All of it, it's an illusion. An allegory for the European perspective on America, as a concept, as a culture, as an Icarus, so great only nuclear hellfire could ever hope to humble it. Yes, now things are beginning to make sense. All of this, hidden beneath layers of metafictional complexity. A message so poignant, it just had to come at the price of any good thing anyone could possibly have to say about Fallout 4. But of course, true art is unapologetic, and it takes a true artist to carry the act out. Yeah, true art. Dear God, this game. It's Kino.